Well, I don't know if it's in their DNA, but it's in a lot of incentives that have been built up over the years. And I think for anyone who went through 2008 and was wondering how did we come to this place where taxpayers have to bail out these huge financial institutions, we see in the Citi history basically a century where it's a private independent institution and it becomes so strong, such an island of stability, it bails out the government on several occasions. Then in the last century, basically since the creation of the Federal Reserve, it has this series of crises and needs federal help.
Because of the creation of the central bank, or make that linkage for me?
Well, I think it's interesting because you look at the 1890s, twice the government is, Citi is coming to rescue the government. Then you go to the Panic of 1907. This is largely a private rescue attempt. People remember it as J.P. Morgan, but Citi played a huge role. You see a whole bunch of crises where Citi is so strong that instead of a run on the bank, people are bringing their money to it. Then all of a sudden, we get the Federal Reserve in 1913, and within a few years, Citi is on this reckless foreign expansion, ends up getting in trouble, and it becomes a big borrower at the discount window, Federal Reserve Bank of New York by 1920.
Wow. Now, the co-author is a former bank examiner, right?
That's right.
How did that help inform you?
Yeah, Vern McKinley is the co-author, former bank examiner, now a scholar at George Washington University Law School, and he really came to me with this story. And I think this is one thing that adds a richness to it is he's gone through a lot of bank exam reports over the years, and for anyone who looks back at 2008 and says next time regulators will spot the problems, it's not an encouraging history because you go back over and over and over again, exam reports don't spot problems, the regulators don't see it coming, and it's
am I drawing the wrong lesson pattern here? That once this bank had the backing of another bank, it became much more reckless, as opposed to when it had to stand on its own, it was more conservative? Should I draw that conclusion? That's
a fair conclusion, and we can argue about how exactly it happened, but the history is, as I said, is very striking. Citi helped fund the Union Army in the Civil War, not just the federal government. It sometimes would bail out city governments that got into trouble. And then in the 20th century, 2008, it was very severe, but it was just the latest. They got into trouble in the 20s, the 30s, the 70s, the late 80s. So it's a disturbing history. It keeps repeating.